What's going on? Move the Mouse here, back in City Skylines, the next episode of the How To series. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about trains. So a while back, we bought this tile, and it's got some train tracks running through it. Now, if your map has these train tracks built in, it means it has outside connections. So in other words, trains can come from off-map and leave the map to import-export goods to and from your city. Now, if you don't have one of these tiles, you can still build a train network for getting your sims around your city. But this is a really nice development when you can unlock it, because not only can you get people coming into your city in the form of tourism, but you can also export goods out, and that can be really beneficial for our industrial park. So let's get started and drop a couple basic stations in, and then we'll figure out how to get them all connected. We've got $235,000. It's not a lot of money, so I'm going to play at 3 times speed. I've mentioned this before in the past. Playing at 3 times speed can be a little tough if you're a new player. So pause the game every once in a while. Like, see all these icons that are popping up, right? All these problems that I'm not dealing with while we're going to be talking about trains. You don't want things to back up too bad. And maybe we should actually look at that real quick. Let's look at our garbage, because that seems to be the biggest problem right now. Do we just not have the processing capabilities? So we've got 2 recycle plants right there, and that's trying to manage everything. So maybe we'll throw one down here just to help out some of our citizens get rid of that garbage. So I'll just come down like so. We'll build a little buffer zone here for the garbage, and we can fill it in with some other stuff, not zone immediately on top of it. But let's do that before we get started. Let's see, can 2 get us into the green? And do I need one up here? Probably. Let's solve a couple of these quick problems before we start off on the trains. Just to make sure that we can hopefully focus in on just that. So we've got water problems. We'll drop in another pump. And another sewage drain. Have we unlocked water treatment? Not yet. That's coming soon. And that reduces some of the pollution, not all. Later on, we can unlock the eco water treatment plant if you have the Green Cities DLC, and that will get rid of all of it. Okay, so we've got extra water now. We've got garbage coverage. We need to power this one. Okay, so now we're ready for trains. We'll ignore some of these problems up here for now. We don't have enough workers up here in the industry, but we can solve that at a later date. So let's get going on our train. So the first one that I want to drop in is just a regular train station. And this is for getting passengers around your city or bringing in tourists as well when it's connected to an outside line. So let's throw our first station in right here. I think this is a good spot for it. Why I think it's a good spot? It's relatively centrally located for this area, Cooper Park in Old Town, the initial area we set up. But also, you got to think about placement when it comes to something like a train station, because it's going to generate a lot of noise. And ideally, you don't want that next to your residence. Commercial, office, industry. Office doesn't make noise. The other two do, and they don't mind being next to noise. So commercial can be a good buffer between your residence and high noise generating buildings like the train station. So now we've got to get this thing connected. And then at that point, we're at least bringing in tourists from the outside world. That is an option once we have it connected to our train line. So now that we've placed the train station, now we can place train tracks. And these work exactly like the roads do. So you have curved, straight, upgrade, change direction, freeform, all those things. So actually, let's maybe bring it from the train station. And here, let's see. I'm going to come up 1 click. Try and find a nice smooth incline. That one looks pretty good. And now we can take this the same height all the way across, and it will automatically build a bridge for us. And I just want it to be a nice straight shot across the river. So let's do something like that. And then we'll come back down. And same as the roads, if you want a smooth slope, you just got to find that right spot. If I go out too short, it's going to make it really steep. Come out too far, same thing. Got a nice smooth slope on both sides, and we've got a straight bridge. It's not crooked. Be careful of your heights on either side of the river, so that you don't get a giant uphill or downhill slope on your bridges. So now that we're here and we've crossed the river, let's kind of follow the river so that we don't eat up into what could potentially be zoning for us. So I'm going to freeform this, and this lets us kind of do these S-bends and kind of follow the coast here. And I'm going to hook in just a little bit right here because I want to have a nice large triangle intersection here. And let's see. So I'm going to do that. Now this triangle may look a little bit large, but there is a reason for that. So first of all, I want trains coming from the city to be able to go to the right and exit that way, or to be able to go to the left and exit that way. If you have a triangle like this and one of these lengths is not big enough for a full train to sit on, what can happen is you get this infinite gridlock. So you'll have a train kind of stuck here that's waiting for the train that's on this leg, that's waiting for the train that's on this leg, and they basically can't get out of each other's way. So make sure that if you do a triangle intersection like this, it's long enough for the entire length of a full train car, or I shouldn't say train car, the entire set of train cars can sit on that, and then you won't have this infinite gridlock problem. But if you did this much tighter, you know, tiny little triangle like this, all of a sudden that's not long enough for a train. So it gets stuck here, waiting for this one over here, and it just, you can make impassable gridlock for your trains. So just make sure you have enough space on those triangle intersections if you're going to do something like that. The other thing you have to be aware of is the angle of attack. So you can actually see the train rails are connecting here. Let's get down on foot and see it a little bit better. So you can actually see the train tracks are connecting, right? And you've got to be sure that it's actually connecting the way that you want. Let me see. Let me connect a couple sloppy pieces. There's a train. I'm going to pause it. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. This length needs to be long enough so that an entire train can sit on that. So I made that a little bit long. This one's probably a little bit more appropriate. But you need to make sure you have enough length for a train to sit on there. If it's shorter than that train, you will guaranteed have infinite gridlock if you do a triangle intersection like that. So we've got trains coming in. Our bends are the correct way, so that if you're coming into the city, you can go that way. You can come back out going that way. And same thing over here. If you're coming into the city from this side, train can turn in that way or leave that way. So right now we've got a train coming in that is bringing in tourists. There they are, actually. There's all our tourists coming in from the outside world. You see them streaming out of the station. And they're coming to visit parks, and they'll hop on the metro and they'll jump different lines. And they will come visit your city and give you tax revenue as a result. Let's do one internal train line. As you just saw, we didn't have to do anything to get those trains to come in. They're just coming in automatically because there's a station that's connected to the outside world. Now, if we wanted to bring people, let's say, up here, let's extend this out. Let's make room for a train station up here in our downtown area. I'm just going to bring this out all the way, say to there. And let's think about how we want to bring the train in here. Maybe we curve it in behind industry and up the river. We might have to move some stuff around to do that, but that could work. And let's see. Maybe we even put it at the end of the street. Let's see what this looks like. See what kind of room that gives us. It's not a lot. But that's actually pretty good. We can work with that. So we'll put it at the end of the street here. And that way we don't have to worry about bringing rails up over the roads. If you did, though, they work the exact same way as the streets do. So you push up on the D-pad, or page up, page down on PC, and you can elevate, or you can sink them underground too. But tunnels are a little bit more expensive than just building it on land. So keep that in mind if money is tight. So let's get these two stations connected. And that will enable us to do two things. It'll enable people from the outside world to connect all the way to here. But also, it'll enable us to do a little train line to start moving people around the map. There comes another train. Let's see all the tourists stream out, hopefully. Some of them will spawn cars if they're traveling to a place that doesn't have good public transit. So that's a sign that we need to add more stations and buses and monorails and metro stations so that we can minimize any car traffic for people coming in from the outside world. Now, one other thing you may want to consider, and I'll show you this at the other station, why this may not be the best design. So let's get the train over there first. So I'm going to switch to the freeform tool because, again, it lets you kind of do these nice S-bends when you need to tuck stuff in behind other things like this. Maybe we can get this through here without dezoning anybody. No. Almost. I didn't want to break the water pump and have to move that around, so we'll move one business out. That's totally fine. And we'll just run this right along the river edge. And now we should be able to hook that right into our station. Now, the reason that this is not necessarily the best design over here is that, let's say you're a train coming in from the outside world, perfect example, and you wanted to connect to that second station down the line. Well, you'd have to wait for trains pulling in and out of this station to finish up what they're doing. Now, I don't know if you noticed this. Perfect. Train comes in. Notice it switches from this track to the other track right there at that crisscross. So it can head back out, and it will behave the way that traffic behaves on your map. So right-hand traffic, left-hand traffic, it should be consistent with that. But they have the ability to change tracks right here at the station itself. But what you may want to do, and this is just kind of a sloppy quick version of this, you may want to do something like that, though, that allows your trains to bypass the station itself. Now, it still has to be a shorter route, which I think that should be, because you're not coming over here to come around. But we shall see. You may want to do bypass lines like that around your stations. So we could do something like this. Just hug the edge of the map, carry it back on that way, and then we should be able to link this one up into that line. Like so. Alright, so let's power and water this station. We'll do that so that we don't affect this zoning and we can start to build stuff in on this street. In fact, we've got a lot of commercial demand, so let's give the people what they want. And we can put commercial right next to the train station. That is totally fine. You could also fill this in with trees. Do some other things. Park objects. Plazas. But in this case, I'm just going to maximize our zoning because we need it. Now what we could do while we're here, very quickly, let's extend these down. Make another block or two of residence. I'm going to separate this out, though, kind of at this line right here. So just so that it's nice and easy to see, let's do that. And it also makes it really quick if we're using the fill tool for zones. So we'll make all this residence. We'll do a little bit more commercial in here. Right next to the train tracks. We don't even care. They don't mind the noise. Residents would. So we don't have enough water over here take care of that really quickly. And if you remember from before, $440 worth of pipe between two parallel pipes is that kind of perfect overlap where you're not wasting any of your money with too much water pipe in an area. Okay, sorry for the sidetrack. Now that we've created two stations and we have them hooked up with rails, we can create a line, same way that we do with metro and other transit lines. I basically just click the station to add a stop, and then you've got to complete the line. So all this is going to be doing right now is going back and forth between those two stations. Now, if you want to edit a stop, you can highlight it and then hold A or X or left click to move a stop. But you can also hit X or square on a line and delete that line. Now, once you have a line created, you can also go into transit views or transport views, I believe. Let me recreate this and show you that. So you can hit Y or triangle to get into the details. You can also get to it from the radial wheel and go to transport routes. And now we can see what we've got out there. We've got 2 bus lines. We've got 2 metro lines, and we've got 1 train line so far. Now you can come in here and change the color that's associated with those. You can also rename the line if you wanted to, so that if it's covering certain areas, it might make it easier for you to figure out what it is, rather than bus line 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. You can delete the line from here. You can say what times is it active, day, night, or both. And then you can show the number of vehicles and passengers that are on any given line as well. Every time you jump out, it defaults back to the bus tab, which is why we were looking at train a moment ago, and now it's showing bus. But you can see we're not moving any people around yet, but we are paused. So let's go ahead and do that. Now trains, are great for moving people really long distances. So have those stations spread pretty far apart. Next step down, I would say, is metro. And those stations can be a little bit closer together. And then bus, probably every couple blocks. I mean, I guess it depends on the blocks, but buses are great, for example, for moving people, let's say, left to right here on the screen, to get them to where a metro is, to get them to maybe where the train is. So they will jump multiple lines. Now, I'm glad this popped up. So we're having some noise complaints here, or not really noise complaints, but these people are getting sick from noise pollution. So let's take a look at that, because if we go down to our headphones here, you can see that this commercial street is really noisy, and that train station does not help at all. So these people that are living closest to it are getting noise sick, and it also is affected by the amount of traffic. Look at all the people walking down there. It's crazy. So we can reduce this a couple ways. Reduce the impact of noise pollution. One is just spacing things out a little better. I could have, had a buffer block of offices before I moved in residents. But since we did not do that, let's see if we can solve the problem another way. So where is our closest hospital? Is it really over there, and that's covering all of that? So that's our first problem right there. So let's put a hospital right here on this street. And if people have healthcare, let's actually see as these ambulances roll out. They're going to go hit those houses, and they're going to treat the people for noise sickness. And we should see those icons start to disappear. Ironically, all the sirens coming through here and the traffic congestion create some noise pollution as well. So there's still things that we could do to minimize some of the impact. And one of those things is by giving people an option, or a better option, to not necessarily use cars. So let's upgrade all these to bike lanes. Now this is going to get rid of any parking lane on a regular street, and in this case it's getting rid of the grass and tree lining that we had of those decorative streets. But that gives a dedicated lane for bikes. I think you can see it at the start of an intersection. Yeah, there we go. So dedicated lane for bicycles. And actually there we had Somebody just using it a moment ago. Let's say when they turn right here, though, there's no dedicated lane for them, so they'll ride on the sidewalk instead. So if we wanted to, at least on this kind of, you know, main avenue, this one especially right here, let's get rid of the parking lanes. And let's do the same thing. Let's see if we can encourage some people to take bikes through here instead of all this traffic. Now, some of that's unavoidable because it's trucks coming to deliver stuff to the commercial zones. But anytime you give people an option to do something other than drive, the Sims are pretty good at taking it. So you'll see lots of bicycles in your city now. You can also use the policy to encourage biking, which is absolutely recommended. Anything you can do to keep people off the roads is a good thing. Because this is just as much a traffic management sim as it is a city building sim. You can see with all the people pouring in and out down here, just a crazy amount of foot traffic that's going to the metro station, which means no cars. And every time we see somebody cruising by in the bicycle lane, again, that's somebody that's not spawning a car. And it's making all these traffic problems that much easier. So we see a lot of people getting off the highway and just waiting to turn right. So if we want to analyze our traffic problems a little bit, you can click on a street and bring up the toggle traffic views, and you can see what types of traffic are going where. So if we want to see, for example, just what private vehicles are doing, a lot of traffic coming down straight, but a lot of it turning right as well. And then we've got a fair amount of it coming from inside of the zone, turning left to go up that way. So that's why this intersection is so busy. We can also look at that just from a overview of traffic in general, and we see where it's heaviest is going to be in the red, and where it's best is going to be in the green. Now, just being in the red doesn't necessarily mean that it's an automatic problem. Like if we go look over here at the roundabout, it's red because I haven't created an easy way to kind of turn on and off. But traffic is moving there, right? That's not really a problem that we need to deal with. You can see though here, these intersections, all this traffic is getting backed up because it's waiting to turn onto this road. And then in turn, this road's getting backed up, this road's getting backed up, all because of this intersection right here. So if we can figure out ways to divert people around, that can be a huge help. Now, one way we could do that is we could do a roundabout right here to help things out a little bit and make it so cars don't have to turn in front of other cars. But since I've already got my metro there, I'm kind of committed to it, so I'm not going to change this around just yet. And as far as traffic, I mean, we're at 74%. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. Now, something to keep in mind with the how-to series is these are kind of really separate ideas. So if you're building the city along with me to test out these concepts, just keep in mind that, you know, each episode is kind of its own little chunk of the town, and it's not necessarily connected in the best possible way. This is more of an example of these different concepts to kind of introduce you to some of these things. Ultimately, in a really large build, I probably wouldn't slap things together in this way. Some of it is very slapped together and causes problems like that. Because right now, we take a look at it, this highway ramp is handling a lot of this section over here. And it may be appealing for some of the industry over here, even if they're not delivering. This may still be the faster route up here. So, we talked about this before. What we could do is make this back area here. Let's look at our zoning. So this street right here is carrying a lot of truck traffic. If we want to divert the truck traffic, let's look at Belmont Heights as a district. So Belmont Heights does have the heavy traffic ban, which you can see we have little vans coming through here, but not big trucks. So you get pickup trucks, you get some vans, you get service vehicles for your city will still go through there, but it's causing all these trucks to not want to turn down this way. So they're probably going to turn out this way and come back. So there's little ways you can do things to route some of the traffic around. Power problems. Again, on the edge of our grid, So when that happens, it's almost always a capacity problem. If you have stuff that's happening closer to your power plants, then it might be a connection issue. Like I haven't bridged electricity from, say, here to here. But when it happens out in the edge of the grid, all the power is getting consumed by everybody closer to the power plant, and then it stops working up there. So we can check our budget, always a good thing, because if you turn your budget down, it's the first thing you want to do. But we are out of power here, so it's time to add another plant. In this case, I'm going to do another solar updraft tower. I don't know if it'll let me connect on there, so let's knock some stuff out. Let's connect this street down just a little bit further. Try and make some room here. And add in one more power plant. Now, 2 solar updraft towers will usually be enough to cover the city until you unlock nuclear power at 48,000. But that could go either way. We'll probably have to turn on a couple of these coal plants that we disabled in the meantime. And I also could have done that. I could have turned these on bit by bit before needing to drop in another solar updraft tower. So keep that in mind if you are holding on to your old power plants but have turned them off to save money on the maintenance and upkeep, that you could either get a little bit of power here or a lot more by adding another tower, but obviously this one is much more expensive. But between those two and these 4 plants, I think we'll get to nuclear power. Let's hit play and make sure that everybody's powered. Let's see if there's any pressing issues that we need to talk about. Now over here, we just didn't have enough workers, and some of these farms went out of business. Now you can bulldoze those. It makes the people that are still working and living around here happy. If you bulldoze it though, you're resetting that lot so that the next time a building moves in, it's moving in at level 1. So if you've got the occasional building like this, not a bad idea to bulldoze it and make the residents happy. But I think that's a pretty good spot for today. I don't want to make these episodes too big, and we're running kind of long. I want to keep these kind of bite-sized, and today we wanted to talk about trains most importantly. We did not drop in something like the multi-platform station or the multi-platform train station. These things are pretty big when you look at them in comparison to the regular train station. And if you're building a serious transport hub, then you can see here there are 6 different tracks on this one. And then, of course, you need to sneak those out all different directions across your city. But the principles are the same. Be careful what you're doing with your triangle intersections and make sure there's enough space for trains to sit on those lengths. Again, like that, so that it's longer than the train is. And you should avoid that gridlock. And then consider adding bypass lines so that trains can cruise right by the station without ever stopping at it. Another option that you have is allow intercity trains you can turn on or off. So if you even want those intercity trains coming, say, all the way down the line here, or if you want this station to just be a connection for your internal train line. So we'll, consider adding more. We could bring this up here and maybe do a train station up on this side of the map. But the principles, again, are all the same. Once you've got everything set up, create a line, complete the loop, and then you can modify color, name, all those other options that you saw in the menus. Hopefully you found this video useful, and if you did, likes, comments, and shares all help the channel a lot and are greatly appreciated. If you're new here, subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications for future updates in this series. If you got questions, let me know in the comments down below, or better yet, follow me on Twitter and join the Discord to get involved in the discussion. But until the next one, this is Move the Mouse, signing off.